Straight. No, contact.
Hold the line.
5, 2, 3, 1. Yep, direct hit, keep firing.
Hello and welcome to a new episode of No Man's Land. I am joined here by the leader of 82DK, Reza. Say hello, Reza. And our resident orc, Dark Leftovers.
What's up, guys?
And our forever special, super special guest, Kazansky.
Good afternoon, guys.
Okay, let's jump right into the meat and potatoes, gentlemen.
Wow, Razor, we had a good run.
Mm.
We had a good run.
Yeah, catch No Man's Land next time, guys.
Took those foxholes, bro. I realized what I said, and I am very sorry. A little bit off to a shaky start. It is what it is. So, introduction. Where are we starting off at?
A lot of places to start. This is a huge one today.
Come on, boys. We've been doing this for about like 2 months now. Now we're dropping the ball.
Well, there's so many places to start. I'm waiting for. I don't remember what the order is.
I think this is just a general introduction that's supposed to be playing. What Razor keeps forgetting to press play after, once we give the introductions. Let's just go to the first. Let's go to the first. Let's go to the first topic, which is the next slide. This is a big shout out to our boys, Joffrey of the Press Corps. You rearranged the fucking slides completely not the same. This is okay. We're just gonna have to restart this because this is awful. We need to restart this. Delete this, purge it. Okay, Avidus, re-intro us.
Fuck. Right, current war, motherfuckers. Jesus Christ.
Yes, it's a very interesting. This war. It's been a lot slog, very static, mainly due to the update. But Kaz, what do you? I want to hear from you from this side because this mainly kind of touches to you and your aspect of the game.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, I think we'll be talking a lot about the specifics with this, but obviously, when we look at the current war, one of the things that I've noticed is just the dead space in the middle of the tech tree, like from the start of the war to the middle of the tech tree. Like when the war started, there was a little bit of maneuvering, so to speak, on the fronts, but for the most part, nothing happens day in and day out. And suddenly, storm tanks or unlock, and here we go, or Silverhands unlock, and we're getting after it. 2 towns, like 2 hours after the unlock is unbelievable. But
it's crazy.
Just absolutely insane. But that's where the war's at. So.
I have to admit, I haven't really played a great deal over the past couple of weeks, but I did attend the op yesterday. I mean, generally, what I'm seeing when I've glanced at the map as well from time to time is very, very slow progression, like ridiculously slow progression, and fronts building up to not necessarily. I mean, granted, you're not seeing bridge fights, but I think that's mainly because of the way that the maps set up at the moment, where we're going from east to west, west to east and east to west, rather than north and south. So I think that's why you're not seeing a lot more bridge fights than you normally would, because there's obviously bridges across the river, and we're going long ways. So you're not seeing a lot more bridge fights, but what you are seeing is you're seeing a lot more static fronts with huge no man's lands in the middle that are just like, I mean, it's good. It's good for the individual soldier, It's good combat. Like I had fun at the op yesterday. Like it, there's a lot more room to maneuver between the static lines of defense. But what I'm seeing is that even with overwhelming firepower and even with like ridiculous organization that we had yesterday, it is still ridiculously hard to push these defenses. So I can only imagine what it's like for regular people trying to push one of these massive bunker bases, one of these concrete bunker bases. It's just not possible for them to do.
Here's something really interesting, Evidence. You just made me think. I just thought of this now as you were talking, and I don't want to bleed too much into the next thing. But one of the things I think that's really interesting about it is the defenses we fought yesterday are the exact same defenses that are available at like day one, right? Except for like AT turrets, I guess. But
Yeah.
But truly, you could have tier 2 rifle garrisons ridiculously quickly, and that persists throughout multiple days of the war, even as you continue to grind out additional tech that's supposed to make them more and more.
I mean,
Achievable to bring down, but even at this stage of the tech tree, prior to Silverhands, we got light tanks on the field. It's still the tier 2 trenches are oppressively difficult.
I mean, it was even more like apparent early on in the war. It was ridiculous. Like I say, I haven't played a lot, but I did play a couple of hours on my own at the start of the war, quite late on in the day, and I was on a front, and we had an emplaced 14.5 machine gun that I was manning. And the enemy were trying to dislodge the position for well over 45 minutes. They were mortar in the position, they were howitzer in the position, they were trying to push tanks at the position. Sorry, it was an anti-tank gun, not a 14.5. But irrelevant. They were trying to dislodge the position for a very, very long time. And the way that they eventually did it was to mass howitzer barrage it. And this howitzer barrage, I estimate had at least 4 howitzers hammering the position for a good 2-3 minutes. They must have put 80 plus shells on that thing to bring it down. We had that rebuilt and a new gun put in it within 3 minutes of it being destroyed.
And they did the same thing to us yesterday.
That's the whole thing of this whole like Amish thing, where you can destroy something with good amount of coordination and skill, but it just takes simply a guy with a hammer or even a shovel just to replace it. Almost like everything you just did that risks all these maneuvers instantly just wiped in under a minute, just because they can just hammer it back up. Go Razor.
Mm-hmm. Getting reports that they can't hear you, Razor, if you're talking in chat. Okay, sounds good.
I'll have it set to your old mic or your new mic.
But nevertheless, I mean, within this war, I think it's obvious that and I feel anyway that's been the vision to slow the war down, and it's just not a really fun state to play the game. Like I still have fun during the ops, so to speak, and even when we don't grind out a whole lot of progress, the actual fights between one strong arm against another is still enjoyable. But I think, as Razor was talking about, for those of you that missed it, he was talking about just kind of the current state that the fronts don't move if you've got people defending it and people actually attacking it. Like it's just not happening. It happens on the periphery in the PvE zones. Like what you PvE is what you actually take and make progress against, and that's just kind of a sad loop right now.
I mean, maybe it's just because of the perspective that I play from, but it really feels like and I felt like this before in other updates as well. It's not like, yes, they are trying to slow the war down, but more than anything, they're trying to slow large organized clans down. And that's it. It always seems as if that is what they're trying to go for. They're trying to sort of nerf the quote unquote 82 DK Zerg or whatever. They're
Yeah.
trying to nerf that way of playing.
It's not even
But-
that they've
what always
buffed defenders.
But what always, I mean, the defenders have always had an advantage in Foxhole, always, but now it's just ridiculous. Like, they've been buffed to all hell. They didn't need a buff. If anything, they needed a debuff or whatever. But the point I'm trying to make, it's I've felt like this before, and what it always ends up happening is when they try and slow things down, or they try and make things more difficult for large organized clans, they always end up making it ridiculously more difficult for random players, and this is no different, really. It's just compounded. I'd say this update has compounded that a hell of a lot more than it normally is. Like, the random players now that are serious about playing and they want to push a front, like, it's going to take a fucking miracle for them to do anything of significance. You know what I mean?
And it's definitely made the infantry experience really tough. Go ahead, Dirk.
It's also added the fact that they made 40% of your arsenal as infantrymen completely obsolete to even damage structures now, and it's just, I mean, things are not going to move just off that premise alone. Not trying to say or justify that changes was good or bad, but it's definitely something that contributes to just the stagnation of the front line.
Like, I am a fan of small arms not damaging structures. I'm a fan of that. I actually like that. I think that should have been, I think that should be a thing. HMGs not damaging structures, that's fine. Suppression mechanic, players not being able to shoot out, that's great. That should have been since day one, if you want my opinion on it. But I think where they've fallen short, and the reason why fronts are so stagnant and front lines aren't being moved, is the tools that they have brought in to buff up the ability for players to kill structures are not adequate for the bases that we need to attack. For instance, HE grenades. Like, HE grenades are great. They're fine. Having a mass infantry squad run out of a foxhole or a bunker base or whatever to take out, that's fine. The problem is the weight. When you're taking 2 HE grenades and your rifleman kit on top of that, you're slow as a motherfucker. So the chances of you actually making it anywhere near your target are dramatically decreased. Not just by the approach up to the target itself, but all the infantry in between there. You've got most of the time, if you're wanting to attack the enemy fortification, you've got to push through infantry and then attack the enemy fortification. So if you're going into that initial infantry fight slow as a motherfucker, you're going to most of the time you're going to have dwindling numbers. You're going to lose a lot of people and things like that, and all of those things factor into it. Things like the spigot mortar. I mean, I remember last stream when we talked about the spigot mortar, and I saw acted out before me yesterday at the op exactly what I thought was going to happen to the spigot mortar. The spigot mortar was pushed up into range. It was then grenaded. It was then captured, and then it was then taken by the enemy or destroyed. I can't remember which, but the point's the same. It's absolutely fucking useless for its role. Like, it needs a 60-meter range. It needs mortar range for it to be anything resembling useful, really.
I think, going off of with the siege mortar, there's a lot of things right now in its first iteration that it just doesn't work. Like for example, the coordination of having a 6 meter minimum to a 25-meter maximum. I do, like, if you know what you're doing, you don't need a pair of binos to spot for this thing. You can see it. You can see it just from when you driving it. You can know where you're gonna hit. And that's the thing, is like, why do they have the aiming of this act so fucking? Oh, my bad. I don't mean to be rude, but why is it so, like, complicated when it's such a simple thing, and it's right now it's range. There's no need to be spotting for it. Why is it even anything remotely? It feels more like a battering ram than what it's supposed to be. It's supposed to be a siege mortar to fire from a safe distance, but you can't do that because a grenade is all it takes, and it's real frustrating. Because even at day one, when you finally get to unlock them, well, guess what? Grenades have already been unlocked. Grenade launchers are a thing, so they're always going to be lobbed and gain you no matter what. And in the contrary, with the same thing, like I got to use the ballista for probably one of the first times. Had probably one of the most funs I had in the game. But going from that to the siege mortar, oh dude, I don't even want to touch those things because they're just so bad.
The other thing I
But
noticed was
another thing, like
confirm it, Dark. Does the siege mortar not block grenades? Like it seems like it formed real. Like the front of it does not block nade damage at all.
it feels like there might be, again, some people can correct me, but I know it feels like it's a buggy issue. Like there's grenades landing in front of us, and for some reason we fall down. Like I don't know if the shield is just imaginary, but it definitely feels like you die a lot more with this thing than you were to push an FMG. Because it feels like grenades in front of me are not protecting me from anything. Because I feel like I'm going down a lot faster than I was. So I think it might be. I would say if anyone could confirm, like I definitely would feel like off the bat, it feels like there's something's wrong there. People are dying a little too fast on it.
I'm gonna also ask Godi real quick to confirm if you guys can hear me or not now, because I'm not sure if they can hear me or not. So Godi, please give me a shout out if you guys can hear me now.
Can anybody hear Razor?
Say something, Razor.
Yeah,
I checked the stream. We can hear you.
yeah, okay, that's good. Because I wasn't. Okay, no, but now I'm robotic.
You sound
Yeah,
like
it
a
didn't sound
Necron.
great, but
Sound like a Necron right now.
The humans are dead.
It's all fun and games in this stream. Apparently, I know what exactly is going on, but I'm gonna probably just take a bit more time to try and figure it out. And
understood.
It's okay, Razor. Razor just mainly agrees and nods his head anyway, so it's fine.
Thank you.
If I just to close off with the siege mortar, I would just recommend either one of the two things. If they change the aiming mechanic to match more of an RPG versus what it currently is now, like that'd be a +1, or simply boosting its range to at least compare with like light tanks, like up to 40 max 40 meters would be awesome. Same thing could be shared for the ballista as well, because when you get to situations where you have to get like roughly, I would even say 30 meters in combat, you're not going to have a good time. And especially when you're in a high priority target like that, you're just going to get grenades. And I've never really hated grenades as much as I do now, trying to push this thing up in the front. And you try to do everything. You try to do smoke. You try to do as much as what you can, but it's just
It's brutal,
not
dude.
enough.
I was watching it. It was very brutal.
Like as soon as you push one up, it's like the weatherman comes out. Today's forecast, 100% chance of grenades, and it's over from there.
I mean, what I've seen a great deal as well. Something that I noticed yesterday is that people are getting very good, because the way that you can assault a structure has been narrowed significantly. Yeah, so there's like the way that you used to be able to attack something were quite varied, because you had a lot more things to attack it with, small arms, blah blah blah. Now you can only attack it with certain types of equipment. That has narrowed the playing field of how to attack things. So developed quite simple but very effective tactics at dealing with things like I saw yesterday. I was taking my squad and we were smoking up as usual, as we've done for years, and then we were going in and we were attempting to throw our HE grenades at the target. First time fine. Second time there was a guy waiting for us there with a perfectly cooked grenade that landed in the smoke as we ran into it. And this proceeded to be a running theme throughout the op, really. Like every time you'd smoke up, there'd be guys running into the smoke, counter-charging you with bayonets or whatever, or throwing frag grenades directly into it without hesitation. There was no lapse in that throughout the entire thing. So I have an idea that like this has become more commonplace ever since this update came out, and the way of attacking defensive structures has narrowed.
And even look, we go back to that. Let's say you finally get that infantry push and you're successful destroying that structure. But then guess what? If you don't have the momentum to keep that thing going, guess what? They're gonna start rebuilding that. And that's the thing, is like you have your whole infantry squad kitted just for this push alone, because if you don't have enough to kill it, then you just either that wave charge becomes for nothing, or you have to do it again with bigger or stronger tools. And it's just like, let's say when you finally destroy it, half your remaining squad still has a bunch of HEs on them. What can they do? It's like, you know what I mean? And
Yeah,
that's just a frustration of when you finally pull these things off, it feels good for that good half a millisecond. And then when you get finally wiped, the Amish people come in and start, job's done. And it's like, oh well, we're back at this again, guys. And it's just heart aching,
yeah.
One thing I didn't really want to. I just wanted to get this guy's question because he asked one. We got Lord of the Realm asking our opinions on suppression and have we used it this war. Have you guys ever suppressed a position and allowed HE in?
I mean, it's really, in our context, it's not as valuable, again, because you have to keep in mind, I can see in very narrow, small squads, medium light defenders, where that could be helpful and useful. But in our fronts, you're having to suppress 3 or 4 different defenses, and you've got infantry not only in those defenses, but 5 to 10 infantry around those defenses. I don't have the bullets to spare to put them into wasted damage to suppress a defense, because that's not the problem. We're better off smoking it or ignore, or frankly not contesting it, because it's too hard of a target to hit. So I don't think the suppression mechanic is at all relevant in larger scale context and fights. I could see it in very, very small context where you're in like a 2v2 and you're fighting over a foxhole.
Yeah.
What I mean? Yeah. Like it's really, really not even relevant at large scale.
I mean, attempting to I'm just trying to put myself in a scenario where you would suppress more than 4 things at once. The coordination that you would need for that is just off the fucking scale. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, and again, you're talking rifle garrisons in our case here. I'm not going to spend the time on killing foxholes. We can kill foxholes without even suppressing it. I'll just run up with 3 guys on a foxhole and we'll just take care of it.
Yeah,
but rifle garrison is a whole new business.
When you think about having to suppress a rifle garrison, that's like 4 HMGs, and then you need people to protect those people with the HMGs.
Yeah.
Then you need people running in with the HE grenades. It's just it just starts becoming ridiculous. You know what I mean?
And by the way, you need 36 HE grenades.
I know.
Not exaggerating, by the way.
It's crazy because it's like in that scenario, and I've seen it before. It's like you have more already. You already have 4 guys committed into one location that's only going to suppress 1 out of the 10 other AIs that are going to stop you. You get me? And it's like, and then it's not even adding the fact to the infantry manning the defenses or even nearby that are not going to let you just walk up while this thing is suppressed. And it's just like it's so rough.
I mean, I'm don't get me wrong. I'm all for things being challenging, and I'm all for things being hard. But when you're presented with something like that has not only no apparent weakness, but when you do eventually grind it down with artillery or with a mass HE charge or whatever, or a combination of the two, which is more common, like you said. It's not worth it, because as soon as you are pushed back, then it's rebuilt within a matter of minutes. Brutal. And it's just brutal. I think we've talked enough about the current war.
I will give one last shout out to Gotti that I agree with him. In my opinion, HEs are literally only usable against foxholes and watchtowers. Personally speaking.
Agreed. Do watchtowers not take small arms anymore?
No.
Oh my god.
I'm gonna do another attempt here. Hopefully, I'm not robotic anymore. I'll move the slide as well.
Still
Can
robotic.
anybody?
Still robotic.
Is that
Got it.
Yep.
Sound better. Sound better.
Does he sound better? I did not understand it sound better.
is he a robot still, guys? He's better.
A bit
Okay.
better. Well, I'll probably have to
I wa-
investigate after this. But,
I just wanted to say one thing before. I know we wanted to close out on the current war. I just wanted to say I know they removed pillboxes and gun nests, but I feel like they're still there. They're just replaced with rifle garrisons.
Yeah,
Rifle
Like,
garrisons, yeah.
Yeah.
it's just the same thing.
Why the fuck
takes
did
off
they?
more.
I really wish they didn't remove pillboxes. I think they had a place. But yeah, we won't get into that. Moving on.
So, shout out. Joffrey of the press corps has gracefully, gave us a shout out in one of his recent Dark Press Corps streams, and it was, like, thank you. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah, it's refreshing to know that he actually watches this and listens to us. To tell you the truth.
I'll hopefully they can hear me good enough to go on to this. So I've discussed with the guys if we want to show what happened, but we just figured it's way too long. This segment is about 25 minutes long. So and like
Yeah,
putting bits of it wouldn't really be fair because then you would miss a lot of context. So we're just gonna probably summarize it a bit, and we'll give you a link if you guys want to watch it. And we also do encourage you guys to watch press corps because there's a lot of good stuff in there, especially when they get the devs on and people have the opportunity to actually ask them questions
talk.
directly. Yeah, it's a good medium. I mean, if you guys are in the U.S. time zone, you might even be able to participate yourselves. For Europeans, it's a bit hard because, like, I would personally, I'll talk about it in a second here. I have my own personal grudge, let's say, that I would want an answer for, but it's really late for Europeans. It's like, for me, it's like 3 a.m. or something like that. But going back to what happened in the stream, in the introduction of these interviews that Joffrey basically does with the devs, he asks them some questions first after opening it up to the public, right? And one of the questions was basically a clip of our stream here, a little a little cut of when we were discussing basically about how they don't really listen to like to the community in the way that we feel we are being listening to. And the general idea was that, especially for them having a community manager, it doesn't feel like his work has a lot of impact into putting the feedback into the game or presenting it to them. And Mark's response was pretty long and hard to like, I don't know, decipher, I would say, probably. But one thing I kind of want to go on and clarify, because he sort of understood it as if we all are some sort of royalties and we're waiting for KFC to come to our doorstep and be like, kind sirs, would you mind, like telling us about your grievances? And that's definitely not the way, at least I saw it. It's not KFC running around from leader to leader or from clan to clan to gather feedback from us. It's more of a, at least in my view, it's more of him establishing some sort of, I don't want to say short list, but at least some sort of concept of what people that are, legitimate to give feedback, if that makes any sense. Like, make a short list of people that they should listen to at least, or I don't know, make some sort of. You guys remember roundtables? Probably most of you from FOD, that where Mark would go and everybody could join, but that was extremely open. It wasn't bad. It just like it just feel like it's a medium where anybody and everybody can join, and that's not always good for feedback. I would argue that's actually counterproductive for feedback, if you ask me.
To your point, the role of the community manager is to harvest feedback from the community, and we've got some concerns that's big, and that's not just about us in general, but there are things that are brought up by, I think, prominent members of the community all over the place, not exclusive to us, that don't apparently get attention from the developers, and we feel that's a shortcoming, that's an opportunity. I think that's what, I mean, maybe part of what Razor's trying to get at.
Yeah, and it's basically just the idea of, you know, getting the opinion from people that matter. And I know it's a huge debate about who are these people that matter, but in my opinion, it's not crazy to think that, you know, a defined amount of
Razor,
people have the veterancy to, you know, to give proper feedback, right?
I've devoted over 2,000 hours of my life to this fucking game. My opinion matters.
Yeah,
And
and
so does everybody else's that have
exactly.
devoted hundreds and hundreds of hours to this game. You know what I mean? That is where they should start at least. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
At least start at the playtime. So like they know that the people expressing these opinions haven't been playing it for a month. And you can put things in context from previous patches and where the game has been developed from and where it's going. You know what I mean?
well,
I
everybody counts, Godi, to your response. It's just like what I'm trying to address is Mark basically saying there's too many people, the community is huge, there's no way we can listen to everybody and put it into the game and so on and so forth. That's what Mark's saying, and that's a valid point in itself, right? They can't listen to each individual player. And another thing that Mark was saying was, you know, in the morning he gets feedback that the silver hand is too OP, right? And then in the evening he gets feedback that the silver hand, you know, needs to be nerfed, right? From different people giving him feedback. And you know, he was arguing that because of that, there's no way for them to like how to listen to everybody, how to decide,
Yeah,
you
but
know, which
like the way that we put it to them was that, you know, the community manager should go to the clans and ask. So then you get in the opinion of a group of people all under one voice. You know what I mean? So you could, like, say for instance, just they send KFC to talk to you, and we have a meeting, and we put together a document of everything that we want to say to KFC, and then you go and have a chat with him privately on your own, and then he gets all of that feedback from that entire group of people from one person. So that actually narrows down the workload for them. Do you know what I mean?
yeah.
Which is like, this is what blows my mind, because they're actually making it harder for themselves to gather feedback the way that they do it.
And this is sort of the point that we needed to make. I'm glad that you make that, Avitus, because that's basically what the suggestion was. That this is what Mark didn't understand, I guess, right? We were in no way expecting KFC to start DMing every individual, you know, veteran of the community and being like, "Hello, would you like to donate some feedback for Clapfoot?" No, it was in an organized manner, and to evolve a bit on Avitus's point, even before, if you guys remember, and I know some of the more veteran people remember, with the help of Eagle Sword from CL, we had these meetings with, you know, like clan representatives, and I know Markfoot joined for one of them, but that's not the point. The point is, as I've to say, you don't even need to make it that broad. You just need to, you know, just ask clans, ask groups, and ask people in general to put their ideas together and, you know, just agree on some key points, instead of, like you're saying, instead of you going to each individual player and trying to do that, let the players try and do that on their own, and you know, say, well, this is this group, we are a group that is this strong, and this is what, you know, like, this is our point of view, you know. If you and again, I can't stress this enough, I don't feel like anybody saying or giving feedback one way or the other needs to have priority in the face of one random dude giving feedback. No, but it's just important they hear it, is what I'm
It's
saying.
not. It's not about. It's. I wasn't referring to priority really.
Yeah,
What
no.
I was more referring to the fact that, like, surely somebody who's sunk a lot of hours into the game would have a more knowledgeable and prudent feedback than to someone who hasn't played the game for a great deal of time. You know what I mean? And to answer your question, Gotti, once you pass the 100 hour mark, dude, you should know enough about the game to give an honest opinion on it.
So anyway, just to wrap up, I already put the link in chat. I'll probably put it when we update on YouTube. I'll make sure to make it in the description there so you guys can watch it. Again, huge thanks to Geoffrey.
Thank you for the
and
follow, you non-essential scum.
I'm also gonna propose another question for him. I'm gonna probably DM him in Discord as well about it, because he seems to have better luck with getting Mark and, and the devs to answer questions. I would do it myself, honestly, but like I said, it's impossible to attend to that sort of hours. And the one thing I've been trying to get people's attention on, and I've been receiving mostly no answers from the devs, is the repair mechanic, which we've been discussing for a great deal of time in here. And I don't even know how to add more to it. Like, there's a video, I'll probably link it to Geoffrey as well, the one with the battle tanks. It's not of defenses, but it makes sense. Like, if it works for vehicles, it works for...
It works, because it's
Yeah.
the exact same thing.
Exact principle, and I think it's preposterous that it's so easy to repair still after so much feedback. And the thing that really frustrates me the most is I think it's a change that is way more accessible for them than other changes, right? It's literally tweaking some numbers, and I know I already see what Mark's gonna say. On paper it sounds simple to tweak some numbers, but in reality you need to take into account that one thing affects the other, and so on and so forth. But at this point, I'm gonna be honest, I don't think, even if they nerf it to the other side where repairing is almost impossible, at least you'd have some sort of change. Like, at this point, I'm willing to take that risk,
try it.
as long as there's some change to it, right?
That's the whole point of early access, is so you get to do these crazy changes. You know what? Let's try a current patch with like, okay, you know what? You can't repair vehicles unless like it's not in combat for, like, let's just say 30 seconds. See how that works out. If it doesn't, I mean, you at least tried. You get to hear everyone's opinions. You'll hear a loud majority if it's something is horrible. You'll hear a lot of people complaining about it.
I mean, I get that the game's early access, and I don't know how many times I've heard that. You know what I mean? And I almost feel as if whenever anything comes up where they're being criticized for something, it always tends to come back around to the thing where, don't panic, guys. The game's in early access. It's not always going to be like this. The final version will be fixed. Yeah, well, I'm not really believing that, and a lot of people aren't. And that's the reason why a lot of people are kicking up a lot of fuss right now. So the end product isn't what we're left with, when the game gets abandoned or whatever.
So I wasn't planning to go into this, but I'm gonna shortly go into it because we got here. Actually, in the last dev stream, Mark Foot said pretty clear that for him at least, the game being in early access is not an excuse for game-breaking bugs. I think it was the way he expressed it, and I believe that we just don't agree on what game-breaking bugs is, because because I can name to you right now a great deal of game-breaking bugs that are in the game, and the game's in early access, and according to him, he says that's not the case. I'll probably try and get some video of it so we can demonstrate it. On the top of the list, and what frustrated me the most recently, was the armor car, the new ones, right? The heavy armor cars, right? With the 40 million on it. It's slow. Okay, I understand that. It's perfectly normal to be slow. But do you guys know that it cannot go up a hill? Like, literally try it if you don't believe me. Take one and try to go up a steep hill. I realized this in Overlook, from Latch going up towards Overlook, but I'm sure there's more points in the world where you can find steep hills like this. And it's literally gonna stop in the in the middle of the incline, and you're not going to be able to move it. Now, this is where we probably can't agree. For me, that's a game-breaking bug. The fact that you have an armored car and it has car in its name and cannot go up a hill on a road, very important. This is on a road. If it would have been off-road, I would be okay. Well, it's off-road. Maybe it makes sense because, it's not designed to go like a mountain goat on hills, right? But on a road, a vehicle that has car in its name and cannot go up a road is just, it's game breaking. I'm sorry, for me that's game breaking. I can't put it anywhere else. To go on the same point, if you try and go downhill with it, the only way to stop it is to jump out of the vehicle, because the actual brakes of the thing won't stop you. It will stop you only after you drop like 10, 20, 30 meters down from the position you left, right? So that's game breaking to me again. And I'll be honest, I'll probably scavenge a bit through my recordings, and I'll put a few more things together to show that the this game breaking idea it's actually being broken a lot of times in my mind, and
It's
he claims that that's not the case.
it's really frustrating when I hear stuff like that, because it's like when logically, I'm not a game developer at all, but just me logically thinking about this, if I had a new vehicle that was coming in Foxhole, one of the first things I'd do, if I didn't have public testing, because we know they don't have that anymore, so would you not just get like one of the team to just get in the vehicle and drive it around for a few hours on the map to see if it runs into any trouble? You know what I mean? It's like, where did they drive it? Did they drive it around a town and say that's okay?
Drive it in.
It literally would just take them like 2 hours, 2 hours of time to just drive around the roads in Foxhole. And if they encounter any problems at all, then it's like, right, we need to do something about it. If they'd just drove it around for a little bit, they would eventually run into an incline, and they would have found that out for themselves. So that just tells me that they don't do any testing at all.
To your point, I just recently saw a truck hitting an invisible thing on the middle of the road and just like freaking out, just like going nuts for like 20 seconds. Again, it depends on how you define it. For me, that's game breaking. I'm sorry, I can't define that in any other way. If I'm driving a truck with important cargo, right, and I hit that invisible obstacle in the middle of the road, and that allows the enemy faction to catch up with me or to kill me and take my cargo, you broke my game. That does make sense. I hope it does, because like that's how I see it.
Yeah.
Because again, and I'll probably make sure we show this clip, but not right now. I'm probably going to make a nice montage of it. Mark says that no, there's no game breaking stuff in the game right now, and he says there's no excuse for it in basically in early access. Right?
Please mention the sound issues that Gotti just brought up.
Oh yeah. I mean, just 1 second. We definitely to put a finger on this. Like the amount of people dying of heart attacks on the front line in this new patch is crazy. Like literally happens to everybody. You're just like walking a moment, and the second moment you're just on the floor bleeding out. You don't know what happened, and that's because of invisible bullets. And there's no sounds of the shots. There's no tracers. Again, game breaking for us.
I know, but I have a feeling that I know what's behind this, because I have a feeling that it all comes down to how you define a game-breaking bug.
Yeah.
So, can you load up Foxhole? Can you get into the world? Then the game's not broken, is it? And stop moaning. You know what I mean?
I really hope that's not the case.
I'm guessing that is what he's getting at with, if you can get into the game and you can get into a vehicle and drive and mine and shoot and stuff like that, then it's not broken. The game's not broken. But if you play the game and you understand the mechanics, and certain things happen, you lose a barge, you lose a tank on a crossing, you lose supplies, you run into invisible walls, blah blah blah. You go into a water with a truck. The list goes on and on and on and on. But then you'd find that those things are game breaking. But they don't, like I've said it, a million times. They don't play their own fucking game, so they don't know.
I just, again, and I intend to definitely put proof to what I'm saying. From what God is saying with the invisible shots, we have clips of that. I'll even go around my video archive because I know I have a lot of other bugs I didn't really put in any videos, or I didn't have time to report or whatever. But my bottom line is it's a huge exaggeration to say there's no game breaking stuff in there, or that like even the fact that he said that he doesn't agree that early access games are okay to have game breaking bugs, because we've been through one game breaking bug to another in this game since I've been starting playing it. Remember last update with the binos? You couldn't use binos anywhere because you would get stuck and people would need to kill you, or you would need to return to home region. That's game breaking. I can't use my binos on a vehicle. For any commander of any vehicle, they're gonna tell you. Like, did you guys know that World Navy was spotting off of barges for the gunboats? How
Oh my God.
game breaking is that? Think about it.
That's ridiculous.
Yes, exactly. And I really hope, he looks back to what he said there and he realizes it's just silly. It's silly to me. I'm gonna be honest. Right. Should we move on? Because we've been.
Well, yes, we should, because we are drastically behind.
So I'll explain really quick what I'm referring to here. Another interesting point that Mark made is AT turrets and foxholes are considered relic buildings by the dev team, which basically means they want to get rid of them. That's the the direct explanation of it, right? So they're not, their life in the game is their days are numbered, and they're gonna be removed in favor of more fitting replacements that would be incorporated in the basically in the bunker game, because that's the bunker trench game. We're gonna have more emplacements, more toys to play with.
Right.
I'm extremely scared about this, not necessarily about the 82, but about the Foxhole, because
So they
this
want
is
to remove foxholes
from Foxholes, from Foxhole, yeah,
I
Foxhole
got
from
it.
Foxhole.
So what?
Well,
What?
I
They want
think
to
not
remove
completely,
foxholes from Foxhole.
not completely remove it, but they're saying Foxhole and the AT turret are one of the last relic buildings from the previous. Like they haven't
Well,
really had much. Not
I'm
saying
sorry,
removing the
but
whole concept of the
they
Foxhole.
they
I thought
can't
they were removing them.
I'm,
That's
they
what I
can't
understood.
they
same
can't
thing
remove
here.
foxholes. They can't remove foxholes. That's ridiculous. What
It,
like? So
yeah.
stop calling the game Foxhole and just call it Bunker Base.
I
Hey
mean,
guys, you want to
So,
go? Let's go play some Bunker Base, guys. Go
so the
that sounds
vision,
cursed.
I think, for this, as
Yeah.
I understand it, is that because the comment that was made with this is that they want player versus player environments and not player versus environment, and so they're envisioning, I think what this is telling me in my head is that they're envisioning once they get through this early access process and they go alpha, that this game is going to be so good and so strong that it's going to have a healthy player base to maintain that vision of player on player conflict 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. And we won't have to worry about PvE anymore because there's going to be enough players to sustain those fronts. That's what I'm hearing. I think that's ambitious, but I think that's what they're going for.
That sounds about right. And yeah, I just the way I read it is they're going to be removed at some point, which is going to be extremely weird. Who knows? Maybe they keep Foxhole as a novelty item. I hope so, because it's going to be very weird to
I
call
think
the
they
game
might
Foxhole.
just give it a re-look and re-change on what it is and what a Foxhole actually is. Like,
Yeah,
I mean,
if they
in all
go,
retrospect,
go ahead.
Foxhole, physically, literally, all it is a hole dug in the ground.
Yeah,
and I mean, it doesn't cost anything; it just costs you a shovel.
Yeah.
In Foxhole, you have a shovel, but you can't make a foxhole. You know what I mean? Like use a hammer. But I'm just saying, I think they want to go for something a little more like an organic thing, not just like plop a, not easy win, but an instant something like that. I think that's what they're trying to more go away with. Like, okay, you put this, there you go, 360-degree coverage.
So my point would be that if they actually make it so you dig your foxhole with your shovel and just modify it like that, I think that would be pretty cool, right? I don't think anybody would mind that, as long as they replace it with something functional. But again, like I said, I think it kind of implies that it's not going to have AI.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I don't know.
That's what I'm hearing.
If you guys want to add anything on this, I think this is pretty straightforward. We did feel like it was worth mentioning because it's a huge direction in what Kaz is saying. Like you're basically saying, like we have enough population to run this game as a full, PvP all the time. There's no risk of, or like the risk of people just like taking over stuff when nobody's around is minimal. So we can, we can safely say we don't need active defenses.
I will say that the removal of AT turrets without something adequate to replace them is going to be really, really the colonials are going to be very sad at that point. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah,
AT turrets are very significant roadblocks for the wardens.
Yeah, more so now without the battle tanks, because battle tanks were really good at removing them. Light
But
tanks,
even with the BTs, they were still stumbling blocks that really slowed down armored advances, even with BTs. Like imagine when all you gotta do is hold W. You know what I mean? Like,
well, you have
scary.
the bunker AT, but that's not as scary.
I mean, yeah, no, and not nearly as prolific. You don't have some dude randomly drooling on his keyboard and putting AT turrets everywhere. I mean, those are premeditated.
Yeah.
I'm looking forward for the AT turret one. I don't know. I hate AT turrets. They're just as they're I don't know.
Very cost efficient. I'm with you.
Yeah, that's just that they're just too easily spammable. That's just like you just plop one. Well, guess what? There's 20 more there on their way, and it's just like I don't know. Especially with the new changes too, just can't really like if you don't have anything with strong enough power, you're not going to be getting rid of anything. So we go good for the next slide.
Yeah, I would say we should move on because we kind of covered it. So this is like a tradition by now, where we look a bit on what we predicted for the update and what happened. And I think we sort of ran in a few of them. I know Dark already talked about the siege tank a lot because now he got to play with it and he kind of covered that. An important part that needs discussing is the light tank destroyer, the new sniper tank that the Colonials got. I'm gonna be frank. I feel like my prediction was pretty okay. I feel like it's probably a bit more broken than I was expecting it to be, but
Wait. You were not worried about this thing at all, Razor.
and I'm not.
Any of you boys can quote me on this. I'm pretty sure Razor was.
You were decisively unconcerned about this, Razor.
Again, the only thing
is he trying to claim glory again?
I'll admit I fucked up a bit on is I wasn't expecting it to be that fucking fast like that. That's fucking lighting. It's like they
that's
got
not your fault either.
bold. Yeah, but like on the other hand, I still stand by the claim that Silverhands are gonna eat them up for breakfast, dinner, and lunch. Like, no.
And so far, that seems to be playing out in real time. I mean, even pre-Silverhand, we demonstrated yesterday that you could still go with those things, and they are strong. Like, and I think that I don't even know where they went so wrong. I think that where a lot of people probably went wrong in their expectations, and where you were right, I will give you credit on this, is that the decrewing of those things is an oppressively strong drawback to the to the equipment. I saw tons of them decrew yesterday, and it was a nightmare for the colonial teams trying to man and maneuver them.
And
shout out to Fuzzy, who managed to get a frag grenade into one of them, and he was super excited about it.
And to your guys' point, like the way the fight went yesterday, we had our light tanks, and then we had so one LT destroyer was with Shiv, ours. Gas had two of them. Then there was another one that I think Wolfgang or somebody else. So we had like
They're everywhere.
around four of them on our side. They were fighting their own tanks for most of the time, and LTs were just like being like mouse traps. They were
I
going.
will, I will say that the Colonials are using them effectively. Well, at least the ones that I saw yesterday, they were using them effectively. They're building them into in place positions behind the main line, and then they're firing at tanks that are approaching on roads and stuff like that. Very impressive to see,
Well-
and that's exactly how they need to be used. They're also extremely fucking good at finishing off damaged tanks that are just on the front line.
Yeah, that's basically where they shine. Actually,
That's the
I mean,
nickname the Reaper comes in. They just come in and they sweep away.
Yeah, the Reaper. Yeah, I remember we discussed that name, didn't we? Yeah,
So
Reaper.
in the same breath as you say that, when the first iterations, when the first ones finally, when they unlocked the tech tree of it in Reaching Trail, they were using them as if they were light tanks, and that's how I think a good chunk of Wardens were able to just reclaim them and use them against them, and that was just like it was kind of interesting because the fact that they just like, okay, we're gonna treat it as if it was a light tank, and they're just replacing it as if it was a light tank. Its current iteration right now, I don't blame them because it has like all the pluses. The only minus is your ass is covered or not covered, and it's just like I don't know. It's crazy to me that their mindset is to just treat it as if it was like a normal 40 millimeter gun or their standard light tank. But overall, my I generally I love the vehicle, even in the enemy's hands. Like I think
It's cool.
this has a perfect spot for them. Like it's a very good, fun vehicle to fight against. It's a pesky, but you know what? It's something that I feel like they needed something like that for a while now. So it's like here you go.
Well, it fits the faction if it's pesky. That's all the Colonials are. Pesky.
nuisance.
We're gonna see how the rest of this war, like, because really this topic is gonna be more interesting to talk about once we see the rest of the war play out. See if the prediction of, and it seems to be going this way already. Silverhands hit the field, and the Colonials I've been having a hard 24 hours.
That's a strange
So
thing too, because
We'll see if it
I will help
stabilizes.
mine on that. Like
I'll keep my position on this. The acceleration of the Silverhand is no match even for that fast-paced tank. Yeah, maybe I was expecting it to be like not that fast. I am gonna concede that point, but still, um, and like I'm thinking, remember, this is the first time the Wardens have encountered these vehicles, so people are still a bit shaky about what's working, what's not. People are still trying stuff. They're trying howitzers, mortars, grenade launchers. They're trying stickies, AG grenades, all of that stuff. But slowly and surely, I assure you guys, especially the veterans, are gonna get that down to a T, exactly where to land, what to land to decrew that thing as fast as possible, and either eat it out of existence or steal it.
I got the best solution right now. I tried it last night when I was playing with a couple of guys. If you get two mortars, both loaded with shrapnel, and just in a straight line behind you, you have one guy behind you, or you can even do like one guy in front and one guy behind you. And as long as you're in a straight line and you aim at the back end of the exposed area with the shrapnel rounds, you will decrew them. Like it would just be an empty tank after your first volley.
I did it with a solo mortar. I found one in the field with 4 shrapnel shells in it and murdered some poor bastard just sitting in the middle of his defenses with it and just killing them in the repairs. And the guys, they were all running like ants. 4 or 5 shrapnel shells cause so much havoc for them. It's ridiculous.
So they've fixed the shrapnel shell now.
It's good at suppressing, from what I understand. It's really good at
Right.
that. To that point, I just because like I really like that story from Holland. Maybe you guys read it or not, with Antroxen in the half track, and I really wanna.
It's ridiculous.
It's so fucking funny. So what happened was Holland and Antroxen were in one mortar half track, right? And suddenly a tank destroyer rushed them and disabled them. And Antroxen, quickly on his feet thought, let me fire some shells, see if I can I can hit it. And without any coordinates or anything, he fires a few mortar shells and decrews. They cruise the tank, they repair, they get out of there, and friendlies also steal the tank from the
Oh my
colonials.
god. Oh
So,
my! I hope that guy got a medal for that. Jesus.
I mean, he got way worse than that. He got promoted to officers, huh?
Oh, good god.
Uh, it wasn't only because of that. Antroxen also is a monster of Logi. He's one of the most hardworking Logi in this faction, and I said that.
Well, that explains it. Beginner's luck for the Logi boy.
It was crazy good. I really enjoyed that little story for Holland, and I'm really happy he shared it with everybody. Right, you guys think? Oh, probably bomb lubbers, real quick, Dark, just to get them under, because that's the one, and we call it bomb lubbers because Dark is work. So
Bomb labas, yeah, they're definitely best used in the hands of the grots, being the colonials. So that way, it's just a waste of shirts for them. Suffers from the same thing as the FMG status. I feel like there's probably a bug related to their shield, as they don't protect you at all. But overall, not impressed. Performs nearly as expected. It's 25-meter range. Like the fact that you can downrange it to 6 meters. Why would you ever why would you ever not have it preset to just always 250? You get what I mean? It's like, what's the point of aiming down that? I think, doesn't it damage the? I don't know if that's correct. I think it can damage the vehicle if you fire from that minimum. Its splash is not nearly as impressive as you thought it would, but for some reason it will splash and trigger AT turrets. Learn that the hard way. But let's say if you have a bunch of infantry, it's not gonna do anything you think it would do. And it's just it's a bit underwhelming comparing it to the ballista. Like, it's just like driving that and you see like a bunch of siege mortars while you're in a ballista. It's like, ha, peasants, out of my way. It's time to show you what a real man can do.
Stand aside, peasants.
Yeah, overall, I mean, it was a nice little hype, but then knowing that it was gonna be the same thing as literally like the ballista, I'm like, you know what? It's like they need to go back on the drawing board with these vehicles. Like, it's like, what's the pro other than, oh, it's cheap and easy to use, and oh, not really. It's just gonna cause people more frustrations bringing it across the field.
I'm really glad that we
And
gave
it's
it an
just
honest
like,
shake. I mean, what we've tried two ops with it now.
yeah, it's just it's
the
just the simple fact that a grenade exists in Foxhole, you will not be able to use this effectively or even at all in an active front. You could try doing whatever you want to do. Throw smoke, try suppressing the other side. It's not going to work as well right now, currently implemented right now. It's not going to work well for you. You're going to be
the
stressing on this 30 RMAT vehicle. You get what I mean? Like, you die, you just like, oh, gotta crew it back, guys. But it's just, I don't know. It suffers the same thing the FMG has.
the thing that really doesn't make sense to me is the one we were discussing earlier in the officers meeting, where this thing basically does more damage to the concrete bunkers than the wooden bunkers. So it's basically, like we're fighting lower level shed, but the thing is not effective enough because it's made for higher level shed. It's like, it makes no sense. What do
It's
you
the
mean?
thing, so that way, if they put a certain damage threshold, like, you can but essentially like annihilate.
I
You
get
get you
that.
get what I'm coming from? If it does
I
like
get that,
five
Doug, but
shots.
as we were discussing earlier about the Amish that come in and rebuild everything
Oh yeah.
in two
Oh yeah.
minutes, it doesn't. I don't know. I just feel like it's really really silly. And the point of introducing a early game vehicle is to deal with early game threats. Why would you introduce an early to mid game vehicle that is good against late game threats? How is that? What sort of, who's thinking this? Like, I don't know. It's just like,
Can I ask a question? How much armats is it for one of these spigot motors?
It's only 30, I think 30, 35. I think 35.
Thir-
35,
dirty cheap,
just one.
basically.
So
They're cheap.
it's dirt cheap, but when you consider that you can get 7 RPGs for that,
Yeah,
is it still cheap?
the
Exactly.
You know what I
That's
mean?
the thing,
yeah.
is there's better things to use it.
The thing is,
And
even if it's cheap, the ammo is not cheap. Klaus can tell you. I
Well,
understand.
Well, that just highlights the point. How many RPG shells do you get for one of the spigot mortar shells, and how does that translate to damage on buildings? Because RPGs aren't bad damage for buildings. You know, like I was taking my entire squad out yesterday with RPGs, and we were just clearing mass defenses with them.
Yeah, RPG basically takes a different resource, so you can really have a good one-on-one.
Oh, does it? Right.
But
Okay.
also
Well, I don't know.
RPGs kind of unlocked later a bit, possible, depending on
Oh,
how the
fair enough.
faction tax.
The main thing is using it. The main thing is using it in a PvP setting is real hard. Like
But-
let's go back to like they want it to be. We want things to be more PvE or PvP versus PvE. This vehicle is only a PvE vehicle.
Yeah.
You'll only get like 120 efficiency when there's no one to stop you.
Exactly.
And that's if you're in even terrain, by the way. I haven't even got to the topic of if you go in attacking high ground structures, you got to just put that thing in the back because you won't be able to fire it. If you have to go any incline, you're pretty much shortening your range by by at least 10 meters. And it's just it's so awful that like again, I call it it's just more of a battering ram than any form of any indirect fire. And the current way of how you aim it is just stupidly complicated. Just make it into like how you're going to fire an RPG, and that's just an easy fix right there. But I would just say my suggestions would be increase the range to at least I would say at least 45 meters, and then because again
and take some damage
granted,
off, right? Take some damage off of it. It
yeah,
doesn't
I would
have
be
to.
perfectly happy if it's like because I know the issue is gonna be it's gonna be doing too much damage. Either make it inaccurate like a Howie, like it fires, but you know what, it's not firing accurately, or it does less damage too. Like anything right now is like because right now this current iteration of it is it's just not it's not fun to use. It's not really leaves something else wanting to be desired than you know. But other than that, I'm looking forward to its different iterations of it. If you get what I mean, like what they will tweak if they tweak, it could be very good. But right now,
I mean,
it's
in every conceivable way, it's bad at its job. You know what I mean? Like it's got no redeeming qualities. You know what I mean? Like even its damage, yeah, it does good damage against buildings, but things that cost less can do more damage. You know what I mean? Like and involve
get the
less
job done
risk.
better.
Involve less risk as well. You know what I mean? So even it's one redeeming factor that it does a decent amount of damage to buildings is sort of negated by the fact that you get safer options that do more damage. You know what I mean? So it's just all round terrible.
I got a question though. I haven't really tried this myself. Does anyone have the answer for this? If you throw a smoke and you put the bomb lava in the smoke and you fire an AT rifle garrison, will it turn and fire at you in the smoke?
We didn't try it, but from similar experience, I'm pretty sure it's gonna fire back. I don't think.
Yeah, I think it does.
Yeah, I don't think it gives a shit about smoke if you aggro it.
And
Nothing
that's the
really.
funny thing is like, what's the point of using that? Because again, you're at 25-meter range, and if an AT rifle garrison fires at you, keep in mind tanks fire at 40 meters, and it still fires back, and even going even further. So it's like, what type of death sentence are you giving yourself once you fire at this on a structure that has an AT on it?
Well, exactly as I predicted. The only use for this thing, in my eyes, is clearing already deactivated bunker bases.
Oh yeah, 100%. I see that exactly what you're saying is. I would probably say
And
like, okay, guys,
even then,
Why would
only
you
if
do that?
even then, only if one is lying around and only if there happens to be a few shells in a town hall nearby. That is the only time I would
Because
consider using it.
it's way easier to just get satchels and
Exactly.
easier to transport. No
And
reason.
more
cheaper
effective.
than
And more effective, more damage.
Yeah.
yeah. That's the whole thing. It's just you're just paying for that 5 seconds of not paying for the timing and then the delay. It's just fire and that's it. Like, but even then, it's like doesn't do its job nearly as well as you would need it to be, and it needs to be going back on the drawing board and to be looked at.
I mean, there is one redeeming quality to it, I would say. there is something to be said about the meme quality of pushing a bin to the front line and just firing a massive fucking like projectile out of it. But that's like literally the only
So
redeeming quality.
yeah, to your point, when we were fighting from Overlook down towards Callahan Passage, and Dark was using the elevation to just eat shells all the way to the colonial side. The shell would like travel what 50 meters probably, Dark, around there.
Yeah, it was going around It was going max around 50 meters, and it was just like it was so funny until they
Yeah.
started throwing grenades at me. But like those first 5 minutes of using the HUD on that
Novelty,
was
the
just
novelty of it.
awesome.
Yeah, that
They're just
was.
like, "Throop," and then you just see like colonials just flopping out or foxholes dying. It's just so funny.
So yeah, that's basically probably the best we got out of
I
it.
could see situational uses for it in very limited circumstances where perhaps you have quite a height advantage over the enemy. Say you've captured a large hill next to a town, like Lorcan, for instance. Is it Lorcan? No, the one same map. The one in the south east. Latch, that's the one with the big hill next to it. Say if you got a couple of spigot mortars on top of there, then maybe you would find a lot more use for them because you can suddenly fire them off the side of a fucking mountain.
Yeah,
You know
but
what I mean?
yeah, as Dark said, you're still going to probably cap at around what 60, 65 meters at
I
most.
think you can't, because the thing is, it has a
Even.
very, very big arc on it.
Mm.
Like the shell is literally made to go down. Like just seeing its animation of it flying out,
Right.
I'm pretty sure
So
it caps like at 50.
you like even if you'd have defenses close, like you take the first ring down and then it's going to be again useless.
Yeah. So, like I said, insanely limited. So
Yeah.
it's a very specific circumstance in which it could be used, like anywhere near effectively.
Yeah, so if you're a warden and you're thinking about building a siege mortar, don't. Just don't.
Don't.
I
Go build some
mean,
RPGs.
if you want to have a few memes with it, then that's probably the only yes. Also, I don't see the faction taking it so enthusiastically after this
Yeah,
war.
I mean, to be honest with you, like, there's one thing. It's one thing like memeing in their clan and carrying it in, and smoke grenades and all that type of shit. That's memey as fuck. But put yourself in the shoes of a couple of randoms. It's like, oh yeah, let's meme and take one of these to the front. It's like, oh yes, what a meme. We just took it into the front line and lost it. That's such a meme. Funny
Guys.
time, good time.
And it's not even mention the fact that not even your average Joe knows about the proper way to produce these. Like we got luckily that our Logi boys were just pumping these out of the mass production factory, making it super cheap for what you're spending it. And it's like, the end that we have people that are just building it from the vehicle factory, putting it on a flatbed, driving it out there, and then just losing it in a matter of like minutes as soon as they bring it up.
Maybe a first wave assault with 10 of them. I don't know.
We got to do that at one point
I
though.
don't-
Just
Just
Yeah, I suppose.
novelty again, yeah.
Right, shall we move on?
Yeah. Let's go to the development update. And before you guys get excited about it, just slow your horses because this has been probably the most boring development update of the year.
wait, what do you mean? A stream about a stream telling you about future streams is not fun to you?
Well, I wouldn't even call it that. It's like what people were calling it. When you watch a TV series and they have filler episodes where the plot doesn't advance. It's only
Well, this was a
side quest, you know.
it was a filler episode telling you about what's gonna happen in the next episode.
Something like that. But
It's like a holodeck episode from Star Trek.
Oh my God.
Exactly. You nailed it. Jesus Christ.
It's
Hey,
just it's frustrating because just I don't want to cut you off real quick, but like how do you feel about streams about things like that? Like to me, and I guess this could be a little bit harsh, but to me, it just feels kind of off. Like we don't have really anything interesting to prepare to show. We still have a planned stream, so this is what we got cooked out. We're gonna be talking about this, and this in these months. You know what I mean? And then
I,
back
I
to
I would
some
rather
schedule.
have it how they did in the past, where they would say, no, cancel. We're busy. check us next time. I'm perfectly fine with that, honestly. And
Yeah, the kids wouldn't be though, would they? They'd be like, "Oh no, we want to see our Mark foot."
okay, I wasn't prepared for that one, but yeah, no, it's
You just been clipped.
the
Oh, fuck's sake!
the the way it works is just like if you don't have anything interesting to show, don't show it. You know, like it's that simple. If you ask me, it doesn't have to always be fancy. Just like if you really want, just like let us know there's no development update, and you can just show your usual anime and Lego, and we'll not.
What?
We'll,
What?
we'll be
No,
fine.
no development update. I can't show my colonial elf art. Oh,
Oh my god.
indeed.
I'm still hoping they're gonna accept the suggestion to put that after the development update, so we can all be more mentally sane. But we'll see.
That'd be so
Anyway,
awesome would if they do the content stream first and then community stuff at the end.
yeah.
Oh my god. This is what we came for.
So I just like full disclosure. There was some other slides I didn't even put in because they were talking about some inside tools they created for themselves, which have no consequence to gameplay or to players at all. And kudos to them. You know, it's nice that they made some tools to make it easier for them to do stuff. But I don't really see how that really relates to us at all. Who knows? Maybe some people liked it. I couldn't care less. I'm just being honest. The one thing I thought worth mentioning is the server optimization, which has been a running thing, and this is not something new. They were doing it gradually, and now we were apparently at 100 versus 100, which is nice. Yeah, that's like people might accuse us of being negative Nancy's all the time and not giving them credit. This is one I'll give them credit for.
Why would they do that?
Fully, it's really
But that's
good.
awesome though. It's like
Yeah,
it helps everything all around, you know what I mean? Like the more people you can put into a server, the more people are potentially having fun. And it's just it's something, it's a plus all around. My biggest thing is why was this like it was kind of under the rug until like now, or if you, I think is when you check the Steam notes is when they told you like, oh, guess what? We increased the amount of players by 25 or by an extra 50 per region, and it's like, you know what I mean? Like they kept that real hush, and it's like, yo, this
well,
is like a good thing, you know? What I mean, it's like,
yeah, but
hey,
I think they were just being careful in case something breaks or it doesn't work out as they were expecting it to be.
I think.
I
And
guess.
then
I mean,
because it's pretty shitty to say, okay, the servers are now 100 versus 100, and then come the next day you say, well, guys, never mind. Like we've discovered that we can't really do it. So
I think that it's a good achievement to get to 100 versus 100. I mean, it's the more the merrier in Foxhole. I mean that's pretty evident. But I would say that end goal for Foxhole, what Foxhole needs. Not saying it would get it, but what it needs is 250 players aside on one map, in my opinion. That's really
That's a dream.
the optimal.
that's gonna
Yeah,
be extremely tough.
that's the dream. Yeah. I know it's going to be extremely tough, but
Because
so's landing on the moon.
as Weatherby is saying, like you can already see some side effects of this increase. Like the best example,
Yeah, but
you could see it even in my video today, where when I would use binos
yeah,
over the
yeah.
concrete, it would stagger and just like go nuts because of
I know, I know that it's an indie company, and I know we're not going to get 250 players aside. I'm just saying that's where it needs
oh yeah,
to
I get
be
what you're saying.
But also,
to achieve its full potential. Let's just put that way.
but that's the other thing is like you get like Foxhole's a realm of literally making a foxhole could be the cost of actually having another player in. And building things and all this, the fact that you can like for example, Razor was trying to look through that whole bunker complex. It was lagging his game out just for rendering all that. And
Yeah,
that's just the general issue of how much you can build and how much you can spam that literally just affects the server's performance, and that's like a big crucial thing.
you've got. I mean, it's a. We could sit here and talk for 12 hours about how we need to about the difference, like the trade-off between players and defenses and stuff like that. The problem is, if you took out defenses entirely in low population hours, let's say low population for Europe, where there's a lot more colonials play Americans. So, then you're getting back into, the nighttime wars where you're coming on the next day and the colonials are taking half the fucking map. So I think there needs to be a definite balance between defenses and the amount of players on a map.
I think what they should probably do, or back on the drawing board, is how to stop really these low population pushes. I'm not going to say night capping because it's not night. It's always night for someone, but generally these low population pushes are like the only things where that make either good progress or just anything. One thing I like to look at, I'm not trying to say this is the ultimate solution, but like plant side too has you can't just take over everything in the span of one night. You get me? Like the game artificially lets you know what, like, what, you've captured this. Now you're in defense. In about 30 minutes to an hour, then you'll get a new target. You get where I'm coming from? And then
The thing is about plant side too. Couple of things where you can't. I know there's a big draw to comparing it to Foxhole. You can't, but there's a couple of reasons why you can't. PlanetSide has a AAA development behind it with millions of pounds. You know what I mean? They can just throw it, or millions of dollars. They can just throw it. On top of that, they only recently, well, not recently, a couple of years ago now, introduced base building on PlanetSide, and it's very, very limited base building, and that's only after the populations drop through the floor. You know what I mean? If they did it at peak, if they introduced base building at peak, it wouldn't have worked, even on PlanetSide with a AAA developer. And a lot of the defenses on that game are fixed defenses that are part of the world itself, rather than built by players. So everything that's built in Foxhole is obviously taken up memory, but everything on PlanetSide, or I would say 95% of the shit on PlanetSide, is fixed already in the game, solid there, always there. You know what I mean?
I think maybe it's just me and I have a different opinion on how defenses should be run. Is like, I don't know. I'm tired of, I look at the map and just everything is bunker bases everywhere, and it's just
Yeah,
I just feel like
what they could have tried out. I mean, I know it would severely change the game, and it would change the game in a way that a lot of people, probably including myself, wouldn't like, to tell you the truth. But there is a way around it where you could just say, right, there's just set defenses around a town, for instance. So when you take a town, you build the garrison houses, but on top of that, you also have, let's say, I don't know, destroyed foxholes around that you can rebuild as well as the garrison houses. So instead of foxholes being something that you plant down yourself as a blueprint, it would be more like a garrison house, for instance, where you would just go up to it and build it. And then when it's destroyed, it becomes a ruin that the other side can then come and build. You know what I mean? That would be a way around it. It would change the game irreparably, but that's one of the ways that I could see them cutting down on memory loss and things like that.
also that's one of the, well, I say potentially possible solutions. Is, would you be willing to give the trade off if they limited building to, let's just say for the example, you could only really build around relics or relic bases and towns. You know what I mean? Like that's the only
I
places
would
you
be
can
in
build.
favour of it after 5 wars of overpopulation where I'm waiting in queues. But
Yeah.
while the game,
Yeah, no,
what
go ahead.
dog?
Yeah, it's fine. Don't worry about it.
Hello?
No, his dog is probably just barking, so he doesn't want to.
His wife?
Jesus, Dark.
Feels like it sometimes. Oh my god. What was I saying? Sorry.
Asked the question, would you responded with, after 5 wars of overpop.
Yeah, you were saying
Yeah,
you'd be comfortable
after-
after.
Yeah, I'd be comfortable with it with after 5 wars of overpopulation. But at the moment, we're not having overpopulation. We're having underpopulation, and I've never seen 5 wars of overpopulation. So until that happens, I don't think we need to sacrifice base building.
True. I'll probably say let's move on here because like this is basically the gist of the dev stream. Basically, that this is what they wanted to show us. Actually, the, you know the most of you might not know it because this is
The
mostly
more content.
something that people that live next to or were in previous communist parties know about the 5-year plan that needed to be executed in 3 years. If you know the Russian 5-year plan, this is basically how I see it. It's the 5-year plan that they were going to do in 3 years. In this case, it's the summer plan that will basically fix everything in how many steps? 1, 2, 3, 4 steps. And I don't even know where to start expressing concern about this, because like, how do you even partition it, right? I'm just gonna switch to the next slide real quick so we can try and compare them, because this is what to expect, right? So backlog features. What I understand from this is all the stuff we've been running our mouse in here: operation system, squad system. What else? Like, who knows? Maybe if we're gonna be really, really good for Christmas, might even get to finally change our names without using Steam. But I'm not. I don't think Santa's ready for that one either. And then new tech tree content, new vehicles. This one is believable. Updated tank combat. Okay, so return of battle tanks, other features to be announced, right? So whatever we have in this slide is already gonna take over the December update, right? So tank combat, la la la, right? Then the backlog features, they're not gonna all be put in this December update because that's already too much, right? So it's gonna probably leak into the January update, right? And then you're telling me that in spring and summer updates, they're gonna fix everything about the game.
Well, you don't even know.
What?
You don't even know. It's just categorized as monthly updates, features, and content.
Oh yeah, no, I'm just like trying to figure out how is this gonna work, sort of.
Well, they did make a point of saying that when the game is fully released, it's not going to be the end of the updates.
No,
You know,
no,
it's
Yeah, but
going to continue to be worked on for a long time.
sure.
I can
we're-
tell you that in any field, buddy, it'd be like, hey, don't worry, guys, we're gonna keep fully supporting it, even though it's done. And then when it finally becomes
Yeah.
done, it's like,
Dark.
yeah, we're done.
We'll give that benefit of the doubt. We'll give that benefit of the doubt. There's no reason not to believe them, right? But we all know what 1.0 means. It means it needs to be fluid as fuck. It needs to be complete. It needs to be without, game breaking bugs like I've been exemplifying. It needs to not have the issues it's having right now and driving all of us crazy. And I'm feeling like basically you're telling me in half a year all of this is gonna happen. I'm like, how? What sort of sorcery would that be? I just can't see it, honestly. I'm sorry. I don't want to be pessimistic about it, but it's just too tall of an order. It's called crunch.
It's going to have to be one of those things where we just have to wait and see. I think.
I'll be more than happy to eat my words, Goody. I'm telling you right now, I'll have the hugest smile on my face on summer 2021 update saying, you know what, they really showed us and they delivered 1.0 version of Foxhole that we can. I don't want to love it. I just want not to hate it. That's what my expectations are right now. Like when I talk about Foxhole, I'm not talking about getting it where I was in love with it when I started playing. I just want to not hate it anymore. That's it. That's all I'm
I
asking
want
for.
the pain to run away.
And I know it's, because a lot of people are gonna be like, well, if you hate it, why do you keep playing it? And it's not that simple. At least not for me. It's at least when you put the clan into perspective, it's not only about Foxhole. Foxhole is just like, it's like the living room, right? That is what Foxhole is for 82DK. It's the living room where everybody goes on Saturdays to play games with the family. But the house is
Family
way
dinner. Family dinner on a
exactly,
Sunday.
exactly. But the house is way bigger than that.
And there's a lot more annoying kids. Moving on.
Oh boy.
Moving on. Moving on to the best screen of all, closing remarks.
Oh, you just completely skipped the other one.
No, I showed you earlier, but I just kind of made a parallel between them.
Oh,
It's
oh
the
yeah,
one
I
we
passed out at that part.
yeah, it's what to look out for, basically more to be announced stuff. And
Well,
the last thing I'm going to say on this, as a closing remark, honestly, you know how, because it was already brought up by somebody, but I don't remember who. You know how most games, like, especially if you look at Kickstarter and stuff like that, or even Steam pages, put on what they're planning to do so people stay engaged, right? And look forward to those updates. Not Foxhole. They don't want you to know anything about what's coming. And I never understand why.
yeah.
Like, I do understand one point where they don't want to make promises they can deliver, but they already done that with the infantry gun, the anti-tank gun, the squad system, the operation system. They already done this. They already said,
I, I
like,
just find I think it's really entertaining that they sit on it like it's a new Harry Potter book or a new like fucking I don't know Game of Thrones novel or something like that. Like can't let any spoilers out. Can't let anybody know what the content is. It's like we want to know, but we don't want to know that much. Just fucking tell us what it is.
yeah.
It's like we're a tiny community. Who fucking cares?
Klaus was saying the static fuel tanker, the oil rigs. Remember, we were supposed to have oil rigs on
Oil.
water.
Oh my god.
Like you see, like we're just sitting here and just fighting more and more. So I don't think the fear of not being able to deliver can be an argument here because they're clearly not afraid of that. They've been
I mean,
constantly
it's got me
promising
worried
stuff.
because we've got what 2 or 3 major updates left before the game's supposed to be released.
Yes.
So in that time, we need a massive UI update. We need obviously fucking trains.
Somebody
We
get
need Logi sorting out once and for all. We need uniforms. The things, and it just keeps going and going and going. It's like, oh my god, how the fuck are they going to do it? I hope they do, though. You know what? I would sacrifice fucking trains at this point just to get the game working long term. You know what I mean? Like, fuck the trains. Like, and I understand that people have been asking for 1,000,001 years, but the reality is, when they get brought out and after the first 2 wars, no fucker's going to use them apart from Logi. That is the reality. Okay, so as much as people are hyped about trains, after the first couple of wars, they're going to be fucking useless. So I wouldn't be too fucking too excited about them.
I
They're gonna
think the
they're
German
gonna
is gonna slap you with
they're gonna
leather.
fall they're gonna fall the same way as like cargo ships or something like that. Like the whole thing about Logi is moving supplies, like, and you need to be like adaptable to where you can move your supplies to. If you have a fixed mode of transportation, like the cargo ship is the best example that we have at the moment. Yeah, you have limited um, ability to move supplies around, but you don't have complete autonomy like you do with a truck, for instance, or some other sort of land-based thing. A train will be even more restrictive than a cargo ship.
And
so I can't see it getting used really.
a really good point that Iwan was putting yesterday when we were doing the transport is imagine like the freighter can hold 5 containers, and it can do that just because it defies the laws of physics, and the containers just get stacked inside there without you actually arranging it. But the train is not gonna be like, I don't think they're gonna make it like that. Like each container is gonna be a wagon, right? So they're probably not gonna let you do a 20 container train because that would be huge, right? So you're gonna be extremely limited on. Basically, the freighters are gonna end up being better than the train.
And just to let you know, Maximilian, Klaus knows exactly where I live, and he's already attempted twice before to dislodge me, but ain't gonna happen.
It's a friendly German UK rivalry. Anyway, Dark, anything to add before we try and wrap it up? So you don't. Okay.
What?
Wake up, you lazy grot!
Sorry, boss.
So
I got
you,
nothing really to say.
you guys feel
Most of my
like
frustrations are out.
you guys feel like raiding somebody, I guess.
Who else? What prominent member of the community can we?
Well,
can we
I see
do
Sunchips.
a walk?
I see Sunchips online, and I know he had a pretty hard time recently with, he got. I remember he got banned from Twitch for some asshole saying some bad words on his stream while playing Foxhole level games. Just he gets banned for somebody else saying stupid shit, which
That's, I
was
mean,
yeah,
Let's raid them, boys.
don't you just love the world we live in, guys?
yeah.
Yeah.
Just ban him because some asshole said something next to him in a video game.
Yes.
Jesus
Guilty
Christ.
by association. Execution immediately. Fucking hell.
So, what do you guys say?
Love the idea of the I just love the idea of the Americans going into Germany and being like, "Oh, you stood next to Hitler at the bus stop once. Straight to the execution block with you."
Right.
Yeah, we're gonna be bad.
Okay, let's go. Let's go. So, goodbye, guys. Thanks for tuning in. We'll catch you next time. And
Catch
if
you
you're
later, guys.
willing, join us on a short raid here on Mr. Sunchips. He's a cool guy.
Prepare for raid.
Raid.
Raid Shadow Legends. Oh wait, they can still hear us. Okay, not anymore.
Yeah, he's pretty fun.